Evan is a devoted husband and father who has one of those quiet, orderly lives you can almost set your watch by. He's an architect, obsessive about his work, and, by all outward signs, thoroughly domestic. A house, a happy marriage, 2 kids, the whole suburban tableau. It's a Friday evening, everyone else is out of town for the weekend, and Evan is left home alone with a stack of plans and the rare chance to be uninterrupted. That little slice of solitude, it turns out, is the fulcrum of everything that goes wrong. It starts innocently enough with a knock at the door. 2 young women stand on the porch, soaked from a storm, claiming their car broke down. There's Genesis, intense and sharp-tongued, and Belle, more playful and bright-eyed. Evan hesitates, because obviously strangers turning up late and drenched should set off alarms. But he's tired, polite, and mildly flattered by the attention. He lets them in. That's the first bad decision, and the movie isn't shy about showing how quickly the social niceties that organize his life collapse. They dry off, have some wine, and chat. The conversation teeters between flirtation and probing. You can feel the imbalance slide from awkward hospitality to something else. Invitation. Inevitability. The women are not merely stranded. They're predators in heels with a script, and Evan, hermetically sealed in his comfort zone, doesn't see the trap until it's snapping shut. Sexual chemistry. Not love, not lust in a noble sense. Just a reckless, stupid collapse takes over. One thing leads to another. There's a breakfast scene the next morning that should be mundane, but is freighted now with shame and disbelief. He's already crossed a line he can't uncross. Then the movie turns sour, in a way that's purposely merciless. The 2 women reveal the whole encounter wasn't a random fling. It was a plan. They stay. They manipulate. They escalate. Files disappear. Phones are broken. And Evan's sense of control is systematically dismantled. Quiet, careful, Evan becomes the subject of a slow, sharp humiliation that's both physical and psychological. They start sending photos and videos. They humiliate him with social media and messages, and their play acting shifts into something much darker. Extortion, torture, and a performance of power that makes Evan's previous life look fragile and absurd. At the center of the film is a relentless inversion. The man in the house, who would normally be the protective figure, becomes the one protected from himself only by strangers who exploit generosity as weakness. The women cut his ties to the outside world. They threaten exposure, and they force him into a series of degrading tasks. They upsell his panic. It's a slow-burning, claustrophobic nightmare where every rung he tries to climb down is taken away. He's not just being punished for a lapse in judgment. The punishment is theatrical, meant to prove something to them, and, brutally, to us. Through it all, there's a perverse kind of choreography. The movie spends time on the banalities of their time together: music, dancing, jokes, which only makes the cruelty that follows more viscerally shocking. Small moments that should be normal become comical, then sinister. Evan tries bargaining, pleading, appeals to decency. Those attempts to regain dignity or reason are met with escalating cruelty. The staging of evidence, the dissemination of images, the calculated destruction of his professional reputation. It's not just his marriage on the line. His career is at risk, and with it, the identity he's built. The women's threats are not empty. They're expert at turning lives into public spectacle. What makes the film uncomfortable and effective is how it forces the viewer to squirm along with the protagonist. We know he's made bad choices, but the answer is never a neat moralistic punishment. Instead, the women's actions feel nihilistic and merciless. They delight in unraveling the man's life while keeping us guessing about motive. Are they acting out some private trauma? Is it a sociopathic game? The film enjoys that ambiguity, leaving us unsettled about whether we should be condemning Evan more harshly than his attackers. It's messy and intentionally unsatisfying. The escalation includes physical intimidation and the breaking of boundaries that used to seem secure. Personal items are destroyed, relationships are jeopardized by anonymous leaks, and Evan's attempts at damage control only dig the hole deeper. One of the cruelest devices the film uses is social exposure. The idea that in a connected world, a private failing can be instantly magnified into public ruin. The women know how to weaponize that. They send messages, post images, and the sense of safety that came with Evan's home evaporates in a flood of notifications and shame. There are moments where Evan tries to fight back, to reclaim agency. Some of these attempts work in the moment, others are clumsy and embarrassing. The movie is unsparing about how a single foolish night can metastasize into catastrophe. His family's reactions, when they finally enter the frame, are complicated. There's betrayal and disbelief, not just at the act itself, but at the way Evan's voice and honesty seem to fail him when he needs them most. His wife, when faced with the evidence, becomes another axis of judgment, and their marriage, built on years of small compromises and trust, is put under a brutal microscope. It's worth noting the film's aesthetic choices. Tight, often static shots reinforce a sense of entrapment. The soundtrack swings between curiously upbeat and unnervingly quiet, and the editing loves to linger on faces becoming angry or horrified, which pulls you into the character's shame. The women's behavior is performative and theatrical. Their confidence and composure contrast sharply with Evan's flailing, which is why you feel both disgust and a strange sympathy. Sympathy, because the film gives him interiority. Disgust, because empathy doesn't excuse the initial transgression. As the climax approaches, the stakes are the man's reputation and the well-being of his family. Everything he owns, his professional credibility, his relationships, his privacy, is at risk. The women make demands that are less about money and more about humiliation, and the final acts are less a tidy comeuppance and more a descent into irreversible loss. There's no heroic reversal, no last-minute clever trick saves him. The resolution is bitter, and the consequences ripple outward, leaving damaged people in its wake. The last sequences play like a punishment that once it begins is almost impossible to reverse. The fallout isn't limited to Evan. The people in his orbit feel the shockwaves, and the film doesn't offer easy moral lessons. It's more a study in how fragile structures of trust and reputation can be when faced with deliberate, invasive cruelty. The women leave with a sense of victory or closure that's chilling. Evan is left to salvage the ruins, and the ending deliberately withholds catharsis. It's bleak, and that bleakness is the point. The movie doesn't comfort you with justice, it leaves you staring at the wreckage. Sprinkled into this grim narrative, there are small, darkly comic beats. Attempts at small talk that should have been fun, but instead read as desperate, or Evan's futile efforts to make sense of the spiraling absurdity. Those moments keep the tone human and, perversely, more believable. The film seems to want you to squirm, laugh nervously, and then wince. It's manipulative in the same way its antagonists are, but it's also self-aware enough to play with that manipulation. By the time the credits roll, you've followed Evan from complacent domesticity through a single reckless evening that mushrooms into a catastrophe. The movie asks uncomfortable questions about consent, vulnerability, responsibility, and the ways small lapses can produce outsized consequences. It refuses tidy moralizing, instead offering a portrait of humiliation and loss that's raw and hard to shake. You walk away annoyed and a little chastened, like you just watched someone learn a lesson the hard way, and maybe wonder whether the film is on his side at all. If you're looking for neat justice or a comforting resolution, this movie won't give it to you. If you want something that treads into the messy territory of human weakness, entitlement, and the cruelty that can be masked as mischief, then it's doing exactly what it set out to do. It's a harsh little cautionary tale. Be careful who you let in, and be more careful about the choices you make when you think no one is watching. The ending is less an answer and more a question. How do we own our mistakes when someone else decides to make them public? It's uncomfortable, and that's probably the point.